This from post-millennial. Obama, Nixon delayed for years in returning Presidential Records Act covered documents. An opinion piece written for the New York Post, author James Bavard noted several other former presidents had taken years, if not decades, to return documents and tapes covered under the Presidential Records Act. Presidential Records Act, which states that the United States shall reserve and retain complete ownership, possession, and control of presidential records, has come into the spotlight after FBI agents raided Mar-a-Lago, president's residence. According to Bavard, the Nixon Library did not reportedly release its final batch of the former president's secret tapes until 2013, 39 years after his presidency ended in his resignation following the Watergate scandal. The act was enacted in law in 1978 following the Nixon resignation, where he claimed that his secret Oval Office tapes and other personal records belonged to him. Lyndon Johnson Library had delayed in releasing the final batch of his secret tapes, and we know why, because he was a pig. Until 2016. This came 47 years after he left office. In 2001, then President George W. Bush issued an executive order that changed the act from guaranteeing public access to documents to one that blocks it, though Congress overturned parts of the order in 2014, according to Bavard. Politico reported in 2014 that Barack Milhouse Benito Obama, his lawyers had repeatedly invoked the Presidential Records Act, quote, to delay the release of thousands of pages of records from President Bill Clinton's White House, unquote. And at the end of Obama's 2 magnificent terms as president, he reportedly trucked 30 million pages of administration records gathered during his time in office in Chicago, where he promised, or put them there, where he promised to digitize them and put them online. A year since the end of his presidency, the National Archives states that 0 of the estimated 39 million pages, 0 have been scanned. Wow. Speaking with BBC NewsHour, Professor Benjamin Huffafer said that it could take around 100 years to fully process all these records from the Obama administration. Even Biden himself is delayed in unsealing records. Biden donated 1,875 boxes of documents from his days in the Senate to the University of Delaware in 2011. Both Biden and the University Library had promised to unseal the records 2 years after Biden retires from office. 2017, Biden retired as vice president, but just before he launched his presidential campaign, it was now stated that those records would remain sealed until 2 years after Biden retires from public life. The FBI raided Trump's Palm Beach residence. What? Less than 2 years after he left office? No. They're just doing their jobs. Stop criticizing the FBI. Stop criticizing this judge. What are you trying to do? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, it's Nick Cardillo. I don't for Hillsdale.com right now. Levin for Hillsdale.com. John Cardillo. I don't know him personally, but this was sent to me at NYPD at one point. TV hosted another, that's what I understand. But again, I don't know it personally. And he's put out a tweet. And let's see here, that was just sent to me. Multiple federal law enforcement sources are telling me, he tweets, that a message was blasted to all federal law enforcement agencies to start cataloging social media posts of known conservative influencers so they can be threat assessed. Well, that sounds like a threat against the First Amendment, doesn't it? I certainly hope that's not true, but we live in a day and an age where it may possibly be true. What's next, Mr. Producer? Am I going to get a knock on my door? Don't bother. Don't bother. Let's see. How much time do I have left here? Now, if that is true, Mr. Producer, that means I'm on the enemies list of 4 different countries: China, Russia, Iran, and the United States. Am I right? Pretty much. Well, that's the nature of liberty, ladies and gentlemen. I call them as I see them. I call them as I see them. I'm laughing because Mr. Producer put 2 clips on here of what John Bolton had to say on CNN. And what did I say to you, Rich? Who gives a damn what John Bolton has to say on CNN? Actually, I didn't say damn. I said something else. But you folks get the drift. All right, the bottom line is this. They keep saying, well, why doesn't Trump release the warrant himself? And there'll be a rational, logical answer to that in the next few days, I suppose. I haven't contacted them for sure, but there's always a logical, rational reason, and they always do their hit and run job. Hey, it's on Trump to do this. It's on Trump to do that. Here's an ex-president. He's a victim of what this government is doing at all levels. And it's his responsibility. I'll be right back. What do you think about a Democrat Party that controls the levers of power, that is trying to create a criminal predicate against a former president, future presidential candidate? What do you think of that? Isn't it interesting that's not being discussed? They're trying to create a criminal circumstance. They don't have evidence of anything. They're trying to look at criminal statutes, grab all the papers they can, and hope that they can try and squeeze, a square peg into a round hole. This government better come clean, and it better come clean soon. Or there's tens of millions of Americans that'll never trust it again. And I think they're already there. As for Joe Biden is the head of the executive branch. That means he's in charge of the whole enchilada. The idea that somebody wasn't tipped off at the White House, if not directly told, is ridiculous. Ron Klain is chief of staff. He's the one who recommended Merrick Garland for attorney general. White House counsel's office, what about them? You're telling me no? And here we have this piece in the New York Slimes from Katie Benner, from Katie Rogers, from Michael S. Schmidt. Immediately after Merrick Garland was sworn in as Attorney General in March last year, he summoned top Justice Department officials and the FBI director to his office. He wanted a detailed briefing on the case that will, in all likelihood, come to define his legacy, the January 6th assault on the Capitol. So the New York Times is telling Garland, you don't prosecute Trump. You don't go after Trump. It'll destroy your legacy. Later it says, the Attorney General's deliberative approach has come to frustrate Democratic allies of the White House, and at times President Biden himself. So stop there. Garland read this. He's getting messages through their favorite crap sheet, this rag, the New York Slimes. The Attorney General's deliberative approach has come to frustrate Democratic allies of the White House, and at times Joe Biden himself, his boss. So he's reading this going, oh. As recently as late last year, Mr. Biden confided to his inner circle, and this is from April of this year, that he believed former President Donald J. Trump was a threat to democracy and should be prosecuted, according to 2 people familiar with his comments. So here he is. The president should be prosecuted. That's the head of the executive branch who oversees the Department of Justice, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office. And while the president has never communicated his frustrations directly to Mr. Garland, Folks, it was just communicated to him by the New York Times. He has said privately that he wanted Garland to act less like a ponderous judge and more like a prosecutor who's willing to take decisive action over the events of January 6th. So this is the smoking gun. This is the DNA. These are the fingerprints right here. Message sent, message received. Message sent by his media surrogates, message received.